Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Indigo Womb Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host and sister friend, Shatia Tee Owsley, and thank you for watching and or listening. So sit back, grab some tea and a notebook, and let's vibe together as we have organic and practical conversations embracing intuitive womb wisdom, spirituality, and a sprinkle of magic to rebel, restore, and radiate overall wellness in our lives. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Indigo Womb Wisdom Podcast. I am your host and sister friend, Shatia Tee Owsley, and today I would like to introduce our special guest, Miss Amber Thomas. Miss Amber is the owner and founder of mothereves childbearing support services in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex of North Texas. Amber is a registered nurse with a specialty in holistic women's reproductive health. Amber is also certified as a lactation consultant, a Lamaze childbirth educator, and a full spectrum doula with experience in supporting families during the perinatal period from conception to birth and beyond. Amber has supported childbearing families in a variety of locations, including hospitals, birthing centers, and in-home. Mother's Eve CSS is a faith-based minority and women's owned BIPOC company that provides childbirth education, doula support, and lactation care to childbearing families. Their mission is to educate, empower, support, and advocate for their families to have safe and positive birth and breastfeeding outcomes and experiences that they will remember and embrace for a lifetime. Miss Amber, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that awesome introduction.
Yes, I am so excited to see you again and to have you on the podcast. I know I read your introduction, but that just is like the tip of the iceberg. I remember our first conversation. I was like, oh, she is awesome. She is doing a lot. And I want to hear all about it. So I know our audience wants to hear about it too. So like I said, I did read a little bit of your bio, but I want you to take just a little bit of time to tell us who Amber is and how your journey got started in the world of birth work.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. I'm so excited to be joining you and just sharing my experience. So I have, ever since I can remember, I've just been passionate about birth. It started with the birth of my niece. I have an older brother, and with the birth of his first child, it was a baby girl. I was about 15 years old, and I actually doulaed my sister-in-law before I knew what a doula was. It just became natural. We all lived together at the time of her pregnancy, and I just catered to her, and I was just so excited about her being pregnant with my first niece, and I just wanted to make sure she was comfortable, and I just did everything I could to help her during her pregnancy when she was sick or needed help. And so during that time, I just got so close to her. We just bonded. When it came time for her to deliver the baby, I just wanted to be a part of the experience and the birth. I was just like, I've helped you all throughout this pregnancy. Now I want a reward, and I want to see this baby born. So when it was time for her to go to the hospital, like I said, I was pretty much doulaing her and didn't have any clue what a doula was, but I was helping her throughout the labor and getting her settled at the hospital. And so when it was time for her to deliver, the nurses and doctors, they wanted to kick me out because, there can only be two people in the room, which was going to be her mom and my brother, her husband at the time. So she insisted that they allow me to stay, and they did. And so I was able to witness the birth of my niece from beginning to end. She was born sunny side up, weighing 9 pounds, 1 ounce. And this was on November 13th. I won't give the year, but what's so funny about that is that my daughter was also born on the 13th day of the month. It was May 13th, and she also weighed 9 pounds, 1 ounce. So there's just like this connection there. But from that point on, I started harassing the doctors and nurses. I was like, this is amazing. Where an average 15-year-old would probably be like, oh, this is gross. I was so intrigued and so fascinated with the process of birth that I had to have more. So I talked to the nurses and doctors there, and I was like, I want to be like you when I grow up. How can I do this? What do I need to do? And so they were like, you have to major in biology or chemistry, and you have to go to med school and all these things. So that I started preparing myself for that. So when I would meet with my high school counselor, I told her what I wanted to do. So at that time, I decided I wanted to be an OBGYN because that's all I knew as far as how you could deliver babies. I didn't know what a doula was. I didn't know what a midwife was. I just know that there's a nurse and there's a doctor, and that I wanted to deliver babies. And so in high school, I took AP classes, and I had finished pretty much all my high school courses. And so my senior year, they really didn't know what to do with me. And because my counselor knew what I was interested in, she found a program called the Executive Assistance Program. And I was able to volunteer as a chaperone at Parkland Hospital, which is our county hospital in Dallas, as an OBGYN chaperone. So it just means that whenever a male physician is attending with a female patient, there needs to be another female in place. So if there wasn't a nurse available or a medical assistant available, they would use volunteer chaperones. And I was able to fulfill that role in high school my senior year and use that for college credit. And so during that experience, I was able to see all kinds of OBGYN services, from pap smears to mammograms to women getting cervical checks or cervical ablations, from labor, birth, everything, because Parkland is a very busy hospital. So I spent one semester there and again, just fell in love with women's health and women's reproductive health specifically. And so that's kind of where the passion was ignited for birth. But I then went on to Texas Women's University in Denton to pursue a degree, like the doctor said. So my degree was biology pre-med, and I was planning on going to medical school to be an OBGYN. I stuck with it until TW has a women's studies program. And of course, I wanted to be a part of that. So my minor was actually women's studies. It just made sense to me because I knew I was going to be working with women. So in my women's studies class, we took a field trip to a birthing center called Anana Birth and Women's Care in Denton. This was probably my sophomore year that we took that field trip. And again, at the time, I didn't really know what a midwife was, a birthing center, none of that. So we went into the field trip, and it was a house. It was just a house, and it had rooms and beds and bathrooms, and there were pregnant women there, and the midwives were there, and they were just kind of walking around like everything was fine and normal. And there were women in labor, and they were walking around, they were eating, they were drinking, they had their family around, there were doulas around. And it was just like I walked into paradise. It was just like I walked into heaven. Like, what is this? And it just resonated with me because I've always been naturally holistic. I was partially raised by my grandmother. And you know how grandmothers have their remedies, their teas and their herbs. And so I was raised like that, not really taking medicine. And so anything natural had always been appealing to me. And it was a completely different experience than what I had seen at the hospital, where everything was so medical. It made it seem like birth was a sick thing, like people were sick. But at the birth center, it was like a day in a life of a woman having a baby. And so again, I fell in love with that, and I started harassing the midwives.
Okay, so we back.
Yes. So, while I was at the birth center and after I had my baby, I worked with my doula to train to be a doula and a birth assistant at the birthing center. So I actually birth assisted for the midwife, and I was a doula all while I was finishing up my biology pre-med degree at TWU, and all while I had just had my baby. So I was doing a lot. So at that time, I talked with the midwives, and since I had just had a baby, I was like, I don't know. I don't think I want to go to med school anymore. I don't want to be an OBGYN anymore. I want to be a midwife. And so I had to change courses a bit, because for medical school, you do your 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of residency. So I thought, I got a baby now, and that's just too much. And plus, I'm much more excited about the midwifery model of care. So while finishing, I couldn't wrap my brain around like not finishing my degree. So while finishing my biology pre-med degree, I took nursing prereqs online and in the summer at the same time. So by the time I graduated, I did graduate TW 2000. I had my baby in 2008. I graduated in 2009 with a biology pre-med degree and my minor in women's studies. Actually, it was a double minor, women's studies and Spanish. And so I had completed my nursing prereqs by the time I graduated. I then applied to nursing school instead of medical school. So I applied to nursing school. TWU had a nursing school in Houston, and Baylor had a nursing school in Dallas. I got accepted into Baylor Dallas Nursing School. But there was some time in between. I started Baylor January of 2012. And so before I started nursing school and while I was still with my baby, I started working as a WIC peer counselor at the Denton County WIC office. At the time, I was actually a WIC client and a Medicaid client because I was in school and broke. So I did have some assistance with my pregnancy and birth. And while I was going in for my WIC appointment, the nutritionist saw me breastfeeding my baby and recruited me. And she said, "Hey, Amber, I just love the way you're so comfortable nursing your baby at your appointments. And you just seem like so knowledgeable about this. And do you have any concerns?" And I was like, "Actually, I do." I said, "I'm having these sugar cravings and I just keep eating sugar and I think it's bad for my baby and I should probably stop breastfeeding because my baby's just getting so much sugar." And she was like, "Well, if you stop breastfeeding, what else are you going to give?" And I said, "Well, formula, I guess." And she said, "Well, your breast milk, no matter how much sugar you're eating, is better than anything else you could give your baby. So if that's your reason for not breastfeeding your baby, then that's not a good reason." So that tells you my lack of knowledge at that time. And so she said, "You're going to keep breastfeeding and your baby's going to be just fine." I said, "Okay, well, I guess we're going to keep breastfeeding." And so we kept breastfeeding despite all my sugar cravings because breastfeeding makes you hungry, it makes you thirsty, it makes you hot, it makes you sleepy. There's all these hormonal transactions that are taking place during breastfeeding, and you can burn about 500 to 600 calories a day. And so I was just having these ravenous cravings that I couldn't control, and I thought, I'm giving my baby all this sugar, it can't be good. And so I learned that that wasn't true. And then in that conversation, she said, "We're working on building a breastfeeding support program." At this time, the WIC peer counselor program was not established in Denton. And she recruited me, and I was the very first peer counselor in Denton County, and I helped establish the breastfeeding peer counselor program with the nutritionist at WIC. And so we actually built the program out together, and it was so amazing because I was able to bring my baby to work with me. I had a little playpen, I had my little carrier. I actually demonstrated, without showing my nipple, of course, but I actually demonstrated to people how to breastfeed with my own baby breastfeeding. So I didn't have to use a doll. I just had a baby right here. And it was so nice. And so I worked as a peer counselor before I got into nursing school. And I was so good at it and loved it so much that the nutritionist was like, "You should become an IBCLC and we can send you for training to get your hours." And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So all at the same time, I was birth assisting, I was doulaing, I was working at WIC. And that was full time, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And I went off to trainings at Austin and different cities that they sent me to train and get my lactation hours. It took me 3 years to do that. It's hard to become an IBCLC if you're not a nurse already. So I actually became an IBCLC before I became a nurse. I was a doula and a Lamaze educator, all of that before I ever became a nurse. And so I did all that simultaneously. While I was training for lactation, I also studied childbirth education with Lamaze and got my Lamaze certification. I got my doula certification. So I got my doula certification first, then Lamaze, and then lactation was the hardest. Thankfully, because of my biology courses and my pre-med courses that I had taken, I did have the required education that goes with the IBCLC component, but it was really hard to get the hours. And so I again had to find support from other mentors and people that I could shadow, which was very difficult during that time. But it took me 3 years to get those hours, and I got them and I certified. So I actually certified as an IBCLC also in 2012, around the same time that I started nursing. And so I was working as a birth assistant, doula, and lactation consultant while in nursing school. I then left WIC and got an opportunity at Baylor Hospital in a boutique called Simply Moms at that time. And it was a baby boutique with the cute little baby clothes and everything, but it was ran by a lactation consultant, and we were able to do breast pump rentals and things like that. So I didn't actually do full-on lactation support, but I was helping with the breast pump rentals and working there. And so I would go to nursing school, then walk across the streets of Baylor and go to work at Simply Moms. And so as I'm speaking, it's just reminding me of what you said, how everything aligns, how the support was there when it needed to be and at the time that it needed to be. And so throughout nursing school, I worked at Simply Moms, and I still worked on the side when I could, which I didn't have a lot of time. And so I graduated nursing school December 2013 and got my RN license February 2014. And from there, I was able to work as a labor and delivery nurse at Baylor, and also at some other local hospitals for about 3 years. And I hated it. And they hated me because I had all this natural birth training and it just did not fit with what was going on at the hospital. And so I was morally conflicted. But my plan was to be a nurse midwife, and I needed to work as an L&D nurse and get that experience in order to become a nurse midwife. And so I did that for 3 years, and I left the hospital and opened up mothereves full-time in 2016. And so instead of doing all this stuff on the side, I made it my main priority and started offering childbirth classes. I made some really great connections with local midwives and OBs and pediatricians in my community. I would do lunch and learns with them and just connect, and they started referring. So we would get people in through childbirth class. While they were in childbirth class, we would talk to them about doula support and bring them in as doula clients. And then while they were receiving doula support, we talked to them about breastfeeding and lactation support. And then so I developed this full course program of childbirth education, doula support, and lactation care to kind of walk hand in hand with our families from the beginning to the end. And I wanted that holistic one-stop shop approach where you didn't have to go over here for childbirth class and then go over here for a doula and then go over here for lactation. You're going to need all three of those core services. And so why not just have them all here? And since I had worked so hard on all those certifications, I decided to put them into use and build my practice with mothereves. And so I then worked PRN as a lactation consultant in a hospital. So the hospital then became my side job, and mothereves was my full-time work. But when COVID hit, I left the hospital completely. We transitioned all of our clients into birthing centers and home birth midwives, and we've just been going at it ever since. I have just enjoyed this so much that I put going to midwifery school on hold, and I'm actually contemplating that, you know what, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't want to limit myself to being on call delivering babies, but to be able to support the family as a whole from the beginning to the end, with education about childbirth, and then giving them the labor and birth support and the lactation care. And so now I have other doulas that I've trained that are helping me as well. And so that is what Mothereves is about. We're helping families from the beginning to end and supporting them and helping to improve birth and breastfeeding outcomes.
Amber, oh my gosh. I love it so much. I just I love to hear people's story. That's my thing. When I meet people and see people, even if I don't say it out loud, I know we all have a story, and I'm always interested in someone's story. And your story to birth work in this journey is just absolutely amazing. And like you said, I mean, just hearing you say it out loud and watching your facial expressions and just watching how you're like reliving everything that you have done and what you have accomplished, but also recognizing like things truly lined up for you, like perfectly, just like they have to line up in birth perfectly for a baby to be born, right? Everything has to align perfectly for that sperm to meet that egg and everything just work seamlessly, right? Yes. Even if there were a little bit of obstacles or some challenges, overall, all the pieces fit together so beautifully for you. I do want to take a step back just on a couple things that you said for people who may be watching who are not familiar with what a midwife is, what a birthing assistant is, and what a doula is. I know a lot of times as birth workers, we hear people who are not birth workers really try to use the terms interchangeably of midwife and doula, and they don't understand the difference between the two. You've also added birth assistance, and I want you to just give a brief definition on that as well, because my hope is that people who are watching who there may be families, they may be people who are interested in joining the profession, that they know that the sky is the limit in birth work. I mean, there are so many different things that you can do, and just listening to your story on how you were able to take part in so many different beautiful programs, but not only that, how you were able to reevaluate and say, let me merge, right, all of my skills, all of my experiences together to create integrative care, full holistic wraparound services for the families that I serve, that when they are with me, it is like a tight hug. Like, we with you from the beginning to the end, and you never have to feel like there's so many different moving parts. They can come to one place as a one-stop shop, like you said. So what is a midwife? What is a doula? And what is a birth assistant?
Great question. That definitely needs some clarity, because I do see the misconception about each of those roles. And so a midwife is your provider. So sometimes we use the term provider generically, because a provider could be a doctor, it could be an OB, it can be midwife, it could be a nurse practitioner. It's the person that's providing your care. So your midwife essentially takes the place of your OBGYN doctor. So you would do either or. You're either seeing an OB or a midwife. Now, midwives are backed by OBGYN physicians, but they have the full scope of a nurse practitioner with OB capabilities, right? So the midwife is the person that you would actually see during your pregnancy for your normal prenatal visits. She's going to be the one checking your blood pressure and checking your urine and doing your measurements and your ultrasounds and even prescriptions. So midwives have full authority for healthy, uncomplicated pregnancies. So you would generally not see a midwife for a high-risk pregnancy. But for healthy, uncomplicated pregnancies, midwives are the ideal provider for an uncomplicated pregnancy. And so they will be the ones that you see throughout your entire pregnancy. They also will be the ones to deliver or catch the baby, we prefer. And so you would be using your midwife as your provider for pregnancy care, full scope for a healthy pregnancy. She can provide all the care that's necessary for pregnancy, labor, and birth. A doula is a support person for the mom, for the dad, for the family. The doula's role is a little bit different. It's focused more on physical, emotional support, not so much medical support. Although some doulas, such as myself, may have a doula medical background, but our role is different. When you're in the role of a doula, you're focusing on the physical and emotional support of the mom and the family. And you can also consider it more of a labor coach or a birth coach, someone that is coaching you through the process, facilitating the labor and birth process, advocating for you throughout the process. So having a doula is like having just an extra advocate that does have more experience than like the average person's mom or sister or husband. And so they're bringing in, they're kind of bridging the gaps between the care that the midwife or doctor provides, the care that the hospital provides, and then the care or support that a woman might receive from her family. And so one of the benefits of having a doula is that when you're in labor or having a baby, your midwife, doctor, nurses, they're generally not going to be with you the entire time. They're checking on you and they're in and out. The doula stays with you for the entire course of the labor, birth, and delivery process. And so they're really helping to facilitate the progress with you, helping to navigate the process with you. They're helping with breathing techniques, massage, labor positions. Every doula is trained on different things. We have some doulas that are also chiropractors. We have some doulas that are also massage therapists. We have some doulas that are also birth photographers. So every doula may come with a different skill set, but they're usually present with you for that continuity of care throughout the entire process. And they help support dad because it may be things going on that he's unfamiliar with. And so they're providing the education and just filling in the gaps. A birth assistant is usually hired by the midwife to assist the midwife. So birth assistants can be found specifically in birthing centers with midwives. So you generally won't see a birth assistant attending a hospital birth. You generally, you may see a birth assistant attending a home birth with a home birth midwife. But generally, you're going to find a birth assistant in a birth center or at home, and they're assisting the midwife with the delivery process. So that may consist of handing the midwife supply that she needs as she's checking the mom and baby. That may consist of cleaning up blood or fluids, or making the room comfortable, running the bath water. That may consist of helping with NRP, neonatal resuscitation, if needed. Gathering tools, gathering supplies, making sure the midwife has what she needs to do what she needs to do at the birth. And so the roles are all very, very different, but they come together as a whole to collaborate and make sure that the family has full support. So you can have a midwife, a birth assistant, and a doula all at the same time because they all have different roles.
Yeah. I love that. And I want to thank you for clarifying that because I hear it so much. A lot of times when people are talking, they use the term interchangeably. So not only with understanding what the roles are and what each person does in those roles, but it also gives people an opportunity to see how they want to journey through birth work and what they may look like for them. And so as you continue to build Mother's Eve, what is it going to look like for 2025? Like, what is new? What is happening for those who may want to work with you that may be in your area, but those who may not be in your area? Do you offer any type of virtual courses or any online courses? What can people expect from you this year?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because this year is the year that things have aligned for us to grow and scale mothereves. And so we do have some different projects that we're working on to grow mothereves. And that's just all happening this year. We're remodeling our website right now, our social media, and we're adding on some other services. The Lamaze education, doula support, and lactation care are our three core services. However, we do have other services that we provide to, again, we want moms to have this like spa-like experience, or this pampering type of experience. And so we've added things to go along with that. We provide placenta encapsulation, vaginal steaming, belly binding, aromatherapy tools, the TENS unit for labor. We assist with breast pump orders. We have a customized breastfeeding pillow that we've had manufactured. We have herbal teas and tinctures that help mom during pregnancy, labor, birth, and breastfeeding. So those are some other essentials that we've added on to our core services. Additionally, right now you mentioned that we're providing services from conception to birth and beyond. We're now going to be adding preconception. And so we're now supporting those mothers who are actually in the phases of trying to conceive. And so we'll be offering fertility support for those families as well. We'll have a specific focus on mothers who have PCOS or thyroid disorders, as those are the leading two causes of infertility among women. And so I am now actually finishing up a course in training on functional medicine to be able to order and analyze functional medicine labs that show imbalances in hormones that are specific for birth and breastfeeding. And how I got into this was I noticed a trend of my moms who were struggling with low milk production as a lactation consultant. So after doing this for so long, you start to pick up on patterns. So I noticed my moms that had low supply also had a history of infertility, and most of them had babies through IVF. So that tells me that there's a hormonal imbalance from the beginning. They were having difficulty getting pregnant, and whatever that hormonal imbalance is also now affecting their milk production. Mm-hmm. Most lactation consultants don't order or request labs on their clients. That is something I started to do. I took a course, low milk supply specialist. So I'm actually a low milk supply specialist in the DFW area, and can order labs, like labs that doctors and midwives may not ordinarily look at, like testing their prolactin levels, which is the hormone responsible for lactation, testing their thyroid, and PCOS labs and insulin resistance labs, hormonal labs that affect fertility and milk production. And so I started doing that, and I would refer to their midwife or to a hormone functional medicine doctor or nurse to get the labs. And then I would get the labs back, and then I'm like, oh, here's the problem. And okay, we got to make sure that your, thyroid is stable, and that we're treating the PCOS and all these kind of things. And then I would see the milk production come up with a certain plan that we put in place after knowing what the labs were. And so from there, that plan started to help heal these moms in other ways, other things that they were experiencing, like hair loss or fatigue or night sweats or other things that they were experiencing outside of being pregnant, outside of breastfeeding, just as a person, these imbalances were affecting them. So then I just got further, I just went down a rabbit hole and was like, and then I started to actually use that knowledge to heal my own self and my own thyroid issues that I was having. And so it's just another one of those things that I feel led to and aligned. And so we're now going to be offering that type of support in 2025, preconception support, as well as even after birth, postpartum, getting your hormones and everything back into balance after that major hormonal shift. We find that some women don't experience thyroid issues or diabetes or any of those things until they're pregnant or after pregnancy. And so we're just helping get those things back into balance. So that's one of our new focuses for this year. We also just opened up 2 locations within birthing centers. So we have a space at the All About Babies Birthing Center in Argyle. We also have a space at the Grapevine Birthing Center in Grapevine, Texas. And so we can now see families in office, virtually, and through home visits. And so the week is split to where on Mondays we do virtual visits, Tuesdays, Wednesdays we're at Grapevine, and Thursdays and Fridays we do home visits. So I'm going to need some help having people in different locations because I can't be in 5 places at the same time. So there's definitely opportunity for growth and training and bringing others along. And also for our doulas, we're bringing more doulas in for doula support. So yeah, there's definitely opportunity there.
Are you offering mentoring as well? I know I'm just adding something else onto your list of all the amazing things that you're doing. Yes. But I know with speaking to many new doulas or just, people who are interested in going about entering birth work, some of the challenges, and you even mentioned one was getting your hours for the IBCLC, right? And so community and support is extremely important. And so for new doulas coming in or just new people who are interested in birth work, are you providing any type of mentoring for new birth workers? And that's either virtually or in person. What does that look like? Or have I just added another?
No, you just pointed out something that I'm already doing. And so any doulas that come on board with us, they are mentored. They have to have their initial certification first, but some of them may not have had attended a lot of births yet. Maybe they've only attended a handful of births. And so what happens is when they come in, they will shadow me or another one of our established doulas for about 3 to 6 months. Then that person myself or another doula will shadow the new doula as she does her work for 3 to 6 months. And of training and mentoring. And so with the shadowing, we're kind of pointing out things and helping them learn different situations that can occur throughout the labor and birth process. So that's for any doula that comes on board with us. At this time, I'm not offering training outside of that, but that is something that could happen in the near future. I'm also mentoring under IBCLC Pathway 3. So there's different pathways to becoming a lactation consultant. And so I'm a Pathway 3 mentor. And so that means that you have to have been an IBCLC for at least 10 years. And there's certain criteria that go along with that. But new IBCLCs who have recently certified or trying to certify for the lactation board can follow me and shadow me for their hours. Okay. And I'm very specific about who I choose as a mentee. I am specifically looking for mentees of color because I did find my experience, it was really hard finding a mentor and finding support, someone of color or not. But there definitely wasn't anyone of color during the time that I certified. And so I want to be able to provide that support and give back, especially in the area that was a place of contention for me. So I am actually mentoring 2, maybe 3, waiting on the last one, mentees right now who are preparing to sit for the boards in September.
Yeah. I love to hear it. So I definitely, if anyone who's listening, please keep that in mind. We will make sure that Amber's information is listed in the description below of the video so that you can reach out to her. And even if it's just, hey, let me point you in the direction of this way or that way, or let me provide you with some resources. I'm always looking to help not only myself, but others, especially those of us of color, with support and community and trust and empowerment and love and all of that good stuff, because birth work can, as beautiful as it is and as sacred as it is, it can be challenging. And so being able to have community is extremely important, and a community in which you can trust and grow in is even more important. And so before we go, I have a couple more questions. I would like for you to drop 3 gems that you would give families who are looking for a doula, looking for a lactation consultant, or any 3 gems that you think that families should know when they are going in and going through this journey of birth.
Sure. First of all, I would say start early, okay? Start early in the process, searching for your providers and your support team. Go into the pregnancy, labor, birth, all of that with the intention of having a team. You need a team. You need your provider, which is going to be your midwife or your OB, your doula, your lactation consultant, your childbirth educator. You need a team to support you throughout your pregnancy to make things as smooth and seamless as possible. You want to start by, I would say, this at least the second trimester, gathering your team, searching for the various options. Research if you want to do a home birth, if you want to do a birth center birth, or a hospital birth. Research those options and take that research to decide which option is a best fit for you. So start there, where you're going to deliver. Then from there, you find the provider that is appropriate for that type of delivery. And make sure you interview providers. Don't just go with, oh, my friend went here, or I've been going to this OBGYN since I was 15, so I'm going to let this person deliver my baby. I know that you have a relationship with that person, but your GYN experience with that person may be different than your OB experience with that person. And so make sure you research and interview your providers, your doctors, your midwives, your doulas, your lactation consultant. Establish a relationship with them prenatally. Even your pediatrician. Look for your pediatrician while you're pregnant and establish a relationship and rapport with them before you have your baby. You want everything to be set in place before the baby comes. So that's number 1, but it probably has like number 2, number 3, number 4 in it. So I would say that's the most important thing. Start early building your birth team.
I'll take that. And I think that is all encompassing, because I think that's a lot to think about as well. We don't always put a lot of attention on building that full circle of support. We get sometimes a little hung up on all the fun and frilly stuff, right? Which is great, which is wonderful. But when all of that kind of subsides, then it really kicks in, and you want to make sure that you have those necessities. And one of the biggest thing is really finding support, especially if you're a person who may not have a lot of family support. Starting early to build that community and finding support groups or support systems, or really working with someone who can help you build a team so that you don't feel alone, is extremely important. And like you said, starting early is the best way to do that. So I definitely agree. My next question for you, and this is the question I ask all guests who come on, with all of your life experience, with everything that you have seen, all of the skills that you have gained over the years, and just how you have grown and blossomed and continue to do so, not only individually, but also within your business, what would you tell little Amber? What advice would you give your younger self?
That's deep, isn't it? I would say to take care of you first. You know how they say put the oxygen mask on first in the airplane? That is something that I've had to learn the hard way. I have such a passion for helping people that sometimes I forget about myself. And in the past few years, that led to burnout. And I'm actually in burnout recovery right now. And so that would be my advice, is to take care of you first. And I would also tell my little girl, I would just reach down and just give her a hug and pick her up, because I see her with her arms up, reaching for something, reaching for love, reaching for support, reaching for care, reaching. And so the bigger me would just reach down and pick her up and hold her and let her know that she is loved, that she is supported, and that she is cared for.
Beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
And it's such a gentle reminder for all of us, whether you're in birth work or not in birth work, is to really take care of you. And it's not selfish. It's not selfish. It's what's needed so that you can continue to give all of the love and the support that you pour out into your community every single day. And so we honor you. We appreciate you. We are loving on you. We are sending you so much support. And I'm just excited that you were able to share your story with us today, because even through all our technical difficulties, right, we said we was going to make this happen. And we made it happen. And let me just tell y'all, it was me. The issue, it wasn't even Amber. The issue was my little raggedy headphones, but that's okay. It still came out beautiful, and the time together was beautiful. And so before we go, Amber, how do people get in touch with you? How do they contact you? Where are your apps? What's your social medias? How do we get to love on you and support you and bombard you with emails and DMs and stuff and say, how can I work with you?
Yes, you can first find us and all of our services and details on our website at www.mothereves.com. There you will find a list of all of our services and prices, and you'll find a lot more information about me, a little bit more about the journey on the website. Our Instagram is at mothereves.css. We also have a Mother Eves Childbearing Support Services Facebook page. My personal Facebook is Amber Thomas IBCLC, which is connected to our Mother Eves page as well. Those are our main points of contact on social media.
Well, again, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for working things out with me today as we figured everything out. But most importantly, thank you for sharing your journey with us today. Please reach out to Amber. Please love on her, support her. She's doing amazing work in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so if you are there, please look into her and just let her know that we are checking for her and supporting her in all that she is doing. We will see you guys again in another episode. Other than that,